friend. Welcome to the One Income Family Podcast. If you live in the United States, then this week is Thanksgiving, which is all about, being grateful for what we have and blessing God for those things. However, the world that we live in, it's mostly focused on selfishness. Even if it's not something that we think about at the forefront of our brain, it's kind of the go-to thing that is just natural for us, that we just focus on ourselves more than we do other things, right? We look into each and every situation and try to figure out what we're going to get, if it's a physical gift or maybe a specific emotion or, whatever is going on in the situation. We try to see what we individually are going to get out of it in the end. This causes a heart posture that's based on selfishness, right? And it will never generate abundance. Instead, you need to lean into gratitude, into contentment, patience, and love, and be able to truly embrace a life of joy and abundance. And that, my friend, is what today is all about. How a heart posture of gratitude can generate wealth and abundance even when you're living on a budget. And it can, generate abundance both physically and emotionally. So go grab yourself a warm cup of coffee or, tea. I love myself some tea. Settle down and get comfy and open your heart to God as we get into today's episode. Do you find it hard to save or get out of debt? Are you constantly searching for ways to save money and live on a budget? Do you have big dreams only to be stopped by not sticking to your budget? Are you ready for financial freedom? Then you, mama, are in the right place. Welcome to the One Income Family Podcast, where you will learn what it looks like to budget on one income, how to partner with God in your finances, how to budget in a way that's easy to stick to, and how to cut costs and save money, all so that you can start building wealth. It is my mission to equip you with these tools so that you can live in abundance regardless of the amount in your account. Hey, I'm Molly, a budget coach for stay-at-home moms, and I know what it's like to struggle on one income. I've lived paycheck to paycheck, relied on being frugal, and failed many budgets until I learned how to budget without tracking. This has allowed my family to pay off debt and build wealth all on one income. So, if you are ready for financial freedom, then go grab that stroller, plug in those headphones, and let's get to it. Alrighty, so before we jump into today's episode, I want to invite you to grab a budget audit. You, my dear friend, you're here listening to this podcast because you're struggling to stick to your budget, and I want you to know that that is totally fine. There is absolutely no shame in that. But instead of staying stuck in the continuous cycle of, sitting down, filling out your budget, only to toss it to the side as soon as your inconsistency of living paycheck to paycheck kicks in, I want you to challenge yourself to break that cycle, to take your first step towards financial freedom by simply grabbing yourself a free budget audit. Learn why you're struggling to stick to your budget and walk away knowing the steps you need to take to be able to stop living paycheck to paycheck. All you have to do is send an email to mollybonnell@gmail.com with the subject line budget audit. Let me help you in the vicious paycheck to paycheck cycle that you are living in so that you can embrace a life of an abundance. Again, the email is mollybonnell@gmail.com, and if you didn't catch that, it is also in the show notes. I want to start out this episode with a couple verses about gratitude. And the first one that I want to reference is 1 Thessalonians 5:16 through 18. It says, "Rejoice always, pray continually, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Jesus Christ." Okay, let me back up a second. So this episode, right, it's about gratitude. And that is why I want to start with this. That's why I want to lean into scripture and see what God says about gratitude so that we can actually understand how gratitude can really generate a whole bunch of wealth and abundance in our lives, especially when it's something that God talks about all the time. Because with a positive heart posture, which is what generosity creates, you are able to do so much. You're not focused on, poor me. And trust me, I've been there. I do that a lot. So you are not alone. But I also see the fruit that generosity can bring us, right? And so that is why looking into scripture first and foremost, I believe, is going to really prepare our hearts for what God has in store for us. Okay, so let's go back to 1 Thessalonians and reread it. It says, "Rejoice always, pray continually, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Jesus Christ." This is essentially reminding us that generosity generates a positive heart posture. When you're always rejoicing in God and you're praying and you're giving thanks in every situation that you are in, God is there. He is continually helping you, and He is giving you a positive heart posture because you're even in the hard times, you're thinking about the good things that He's doing for you, right? So that's the first one. The second one that I want to read is 1 Timothy 6:17 through 18. So this says, "Command those who are rich in this present world not to be arrogant, nor to put their hope in wealth, which is so uncertain, but to put their hope in God, who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. Command them to do good, to be rich in good deeds, and to be generous and willing to share." A grateful heart means that you're not stingy or fearful of what life may bring, but rather have faith and trust that God will be there in every circumstance. So don't cultivate a heart of fear by trying to be self-sufficient and trying to be prepared for every situation life may throw your way. Instead, trust in the Lord, because giving generates more than hoarding. I want to repeat that. Giving generates more than hoarding. And that's why generosity is so good for our souls. And it helps us to really, just think on God and think about the things that He does. It opens our eyes. Generosity does. It opens our eyes to the things that God has done for us. I know I've been so self-focused that some of the things that God has given me, I didn't realize were from Him, which I've done an episode on this exact topic, right? So I got things given to me, and instead of being grateful of the things that God provided because they were given to me, they were free, I didn't have to pay for them, I was instead upset and irritable and didn't want these things because to me it wasn't exactly what I wanted. It wasn't the picture that I wanted. It really wasn't, a Pinterest style picture or an Instagram picture. It wasn't this perfect image that I had in my head, but it was still the thing that I needed, right? And I got lost in the selfish desires of, being unhappy in what I wanted instead of opening my eyes to the gifts that God has given me. He has answered my prayers, even prayers that I hadn't spoken, because these things that were given to me wasn't something that I'm like, oh yeah, I want this, Lord, because in my brain, I'm like, it's not that important. It was like a couch, right? But He still was like, here, I'm providing for this couch. And instead of being grateful, I was ungrateful. And now I feel embarrassed that I even had that thought, right? That I wasn't grateful for the things that God has given me. And so that is why not only is this week, Thanksgiving week, and I just thought it was a perfect topic to go with the season, right? But it's also something that I believe we really need to lean into, and we really need to look at what the desires of our hearts are, because, the things that we do with our money can really open your eyes to whether or not you value your relationship with God. And I'll get into that later, but I really just want you to understand how important generosity is and all the things that it can do for you. So I'm going to start diving into the things that generosity and gratitude actually do for you, right? In your budget, with your money, in your emotions and your mind, and then also with God. So let's dive into that first one. The first one, which I do want to state, I did not put these in any particular order. I just wrote them down as they came to my brain, right? Okay, so the first one, gratitude helps you stick to your budget. And how it does that is it simply reduces your impulse spending. Impulse spending, it stems from being unhappy, be it the situation that you're in or the stuff that you have that maybe you just don't like. But when you are grateful for what you have, you start to use your money for things you need versus things you think you have to have. It allows you to start planning to actually, buy things because you actually have a purpose for them instead of just saying, oh my gosh, I see that, I want that, let's get it. Right? It takes that away, that impulse spending. The second thing that gratitude helps you with is to save money. So when you're grateful for what you have, you don't feel the need to buy something new all the time, right? So you naturally just stop spending and it just starts accumulating in your savings account, right? That's what happens when you're grateful for the things that you have. Because when you're grateful for the things that you have, leading into the next thing, it helps you grow in your contentment. You are satisfied with the things that you have, even if they aren't pretty, even if they aren't the new thing that you thought you needed and you don't feel the need to buy things, right? Even if they're not new, that desire to buy things, it kind of dwindles away because you're content with the things that you have. You start thinking before you buy and bringing that thought process back in, the planning, the allowing the money to accumulate in your bank account simply because you're thinking about the things that you want just makes a world of difference. And this all stems from gratitude, right? The fourth thing that gratitude does for you is it helps you become patient with your money. When you're grateful and content with what you have, even in your financial situation, you are able to look at purchases with a peaceful heart and take slow action. And slow action is the key phrase here. It brings on delayed gratification. All these things that I talk about all the time can come from having a grateful heart. You don't feel like your money is burning a hole in your pocket, like you have to buy that thing right now or you're gonna die. It's a little overdramatic, but you get the point. You can look at it as it is without any emotional tie and make a sound decision on the purchase and be at peace if you have to wait and save up for that purchase. Like, again, there's that delayed gratification and you're at peace with it because you are happy with the things that you have. You're content, you're patient, you're saving money and you're sticking to your budget. All these things just play one on top of the other. And all you have to do is start working on being grateful for the things that you have, right? The fifth thing that this does for you is helps you grow your faith. So faith, what does that mean, right? It means trust. It means confidence in God. It means that when you are in a hard situation, you can trust in knowing that God is going to be there, that He is going to take care of the situation. But we struggle with faith, right? We struggle with that because we want to be in control. And I'm talking from experience, friend. This is not me calling you out. This is me calling my own failures out, right? And I want you to know that faith is hard to really just sit in, especially when that person isn't physically in front of us. We have to have blind faith. We don't know the whole situation. So it's essentially like trusting in your parents, knowing that they are your safe place, even when you don't understand the whole situation. Now it makes it a little bit easier because yes, they are here in the flesh. You can cling, you can touch, you can know that they're actually there. And when that sight is gone and you have to have blind trust, it gets a little bit harder, right? So just as our parents were the ones to maybe selflessly, maybe not, but anyways, they provided for you as you are a child, God is the one who provides money for us. You can read all about that in Deuteronomy 8:17 through 18. I'm not going to quote that right now or read it, but I just want you to know that God is the one who provides our wealth. And what you do with that money really reveals how you revere Him or respect God. The choices that you make are either focused on self-sufficiency with only enough to survive, which, does not generate joy when you're only focused on survival, or your choice will lead to God-sized wealth by simply relying on God. This is what gives us abundance in more ways than money can buy. And that is the type of wealth and abundance that we should be striving for instead of trying to, get the things and finding happiness and abundance and wealth in money. We should be trying to find it in loved ones, in people, in our relationships with God and our family and friends. That is what we should find true abundance in, true wealth in, and just allow the money to be a tool in order to supplement that joy and happiness, right? That is the thing that I want you to get from this. I want you to get joy. I want you to generate gratitude and be happy of the monetary things that you have so that you can really focus on what's truly important. And that's God, that's your family, that's your kids, that's your friends, that's your husband, that's you yourself, right? You have to focus on yourself so that you can fill up your cup, That is important. It's something that God talks about all the time. So that's what I want you to focus on. I want you to find gratitude in your monetary items, in the physical products that you have in your home, and focus more on your abundance and your wealth in other areas. Now, don't get me wrong. Yes, it is extremely important to be able to save money, to be able to, have that nest egg saved up for emergencies and to be able to pay your bills and all that kind of stuff. But I don't want it to be so important to you that you focus on it so hard that everything else goes to the wayside, because that's when we get into I don't want to say depression, but we get sad and we get into a state that it's just not fun. We're so focused on self-sufficiency that we aren't able to really see what's truly important. Okay, I kind of went down a rabbit hole there, but I guess I just really want you to understand how important gratitude is in your faith walk. It's so important to be grateful to the things that God gives us. Just as we are grateful to our parents for providing for us, or your husband who goes out and works to provide the money your family needs to survive, right? It can be so easy to become complacent and just expect these things to happen, which can bring about resentment from some family members or in our own hearts. And that's what I don't want. I want us to be so focused on gratitude and a positive attitude that we don't give in to the feelings of resentment. Now, that does not mean that we're not going to have some negative emotions every now and again, but you don't want that to be the thing controlling your actions. You want positive heart postures, positive emotions to be controlling the way you do things, the way you look at life, the way you take action and make choices, because that's the kind of life that's going to bring joy, not only to you, but to everyone else around you. Okay, so how do you embrace a lifestyle of gratitude? Simply, I want to say the very first thing I want you to do is I want you to sit down and I want you to pray to God. I want you to ask Him to change the desires of your heart from one focused on negativity and the bad things of this world to one of joy, one of peace and love that's focused on generosity and giving and being grateful, right? So this is a great thing you can do. You can just sit down and pray to Him. Ask Him to just look into your heart and ask Him to put that desire on your heart. Because I know there can be times when we don't want to do things. And you can sit there and you can be like, okay, I want to be happy. I want to be grateful, but I don't really have a heart for it. And this is me just faking it till I make it, which is a good thing sometimes. But it can be hard to be motivated to do things when it's not actually something you desire, when it's something you know you need, but it's not something you desire. So asking God to change the desire from one not of having a grateful attitude to one of having gratitude, then you will be able to actually go into whatever situation it is easier and with motivation, because that motivation comes from God putting that desire on your heart. Okay, so an exercise that I like to do to help practice gratitude and being grateful is to write down, or, if I can remember them, just remember them, but just to really pinpoint 3 to 5 positive things that happened that day. So yes, I know when it's a really bad day, sometimes it's just that I'm alive, right? I'm grateful that I'm alive. I'm grateful that God's here walking me through this. But by looking for these 3 things, your eyes become open to the things that God is doing throughout your entire life. In the day-to-day, you find good things. It helps train your brain also from seeing only the bad to being able to see only the good. And I want you to know that it's natural. I cannot quote the science behind this, but I do know that it is natural for our minds to be searching for the negative thing, to be searching for the bad thing, because that is what our minds want to find to keep us safe, right? Our mind wants to keep us safe. And so if we're searching and looking for that bad thing, we can be prepared for it. But if you're constantly thinking of the bad and you're constantly looking and being prepared for only the bad, then your heart set is going to change negative. The actions that you take, the choices that you make are not going to be focused on happy, joyful actions and thoughts. They're going to be focused on negative things, right? And so I want you to just start retraining your brain. And if you don't like this one, there are many other activities and exercises you can do. Just Google it. I did do that to see if there was anything else to do. And I'm like, wow, this is a little overwhelming with all the things that you can do with a gratitude tree, a gratitude flower, a gratitude jar. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm not going to get into that. I'm just going to give you my one thing. And if you want to go search anything else, have at it. But I really want you to just do your best to pick something, whichever one feels greatest to you. Maybe you do make a gratitude tree so that you can constantly be seeing all the things that you're happy about. But if you do it this way, then you're going to be able to start shifting your mindset from seeing all those negative things to being able to see the good things that are happening and to be able to see God working in your life. It's not just going to be, what am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing to make me happy? Instead, it's going to be, what are the great things that God's doing in my life today? How is He moving the needle forward for me to reach my goal in the end, right? To reach my financial goal even, because that is important to Him just as it is important to you. My goodness, I can't talk today. But I really just want you to start looking at life from a different perspective, right? That's going to help you really just be able to not only save money and stick to your budget and cultivate patience and, what was the other one? Contentment, right? It's also going to help you cultivate joy in your life, deep, soul-filled joy, not just short-lived happiness that comes from short-term things like getting a gift or being able to see somebody. It's going to be a deep-rooted joy that you can then pass on to others, and you can cultivate a home that's focused on joy instead of negativity, and it's going to change so much more than just your budget. Trust you me. Alrighty, so I want to, again, just touch on the 5 things that I mentioned that gratitude really helps you cultivate for, your physical and your emotional budget, financial situation, whatever word I'm trying to spit out there. But it helps you stick to your budget. It helps you save money, to grow in contentment, and to be patient simply by cultivating a heart of joy. You're able to reduce your impulse spending. You're able to accumulate money in your bank account simply because you don't feel the need to buy. You're able to be satisfied with the things that you already have. And you're able to live a joyful and content life because you're not making decisions based off of, I have to have it right now. You're able to make peaceful, slow action decisions and not allow your emotion to take control and be the one spending everything, right? You're also able to grow your faith in God in more ways than, again, just your finances. So lean into a heart of gratification, of being joyful so that you can really embrace the life that God wants you to live and live wealthy on a budget, because it's possible. Not just financial wealth, but also spiritual and emotional wealth, which is something that we all desire, right? Okay, so before I jump off, I want to invite you to grab yourself a budget audit. I understand that it's difficult to live in the inconsistency of living paycheck to paycheck, and I want to challenge you to stop living that way. All you have to do is take your first step towards financial freedom by grabbing yourself a free budget audit. Learn why you're struggling to stick to your budget and walk away knowing the steps you need to take to be able to stop living paycheck to paycheck. All you have to do is send me an email to mollybennell@gmail.com with the subject line budget audit. Again, that's Molly Bennell, Molly, B as in boy, Enell, @gmail.com, and I look forward to reading your email. And with that being said, I will see you right back here next week on another episode of the One Income Family Podcast. Before you go, I hope this episode has ignited a fire inside of you, and I pray that it creates long-lasting impact. Did you know that you too can impact other one-income families? All you have to do is leave a written review and you help get the podcast in the hands of other mamas in need. You can also text this episode to that friend who is also knee-deep in the same kind of chaos as you and inspire them to make a change. Also, your review lets me know that you're enjoying the show, and that lights me up. I get so excited to hear from you. Another great way that we can connect, though, is through the One Income Family community over on Facebook. So after you're done leaving that 5-star review, head on over to the community where you will find other mamas working their way out of the chaos. You can ask your questions and connect with others who truly understand what you are going through. I cannot wait to connect with you in the community. Until then, I will see you right here next week on another episode of the One Income Family Podcast.